Hi there, this is Pamela Rothbard, the managing editor at PartySlate, and we are here on day one of the main event. And I'm so excited, luck of the draw, that I got this awesome panel because we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, one that I'm always interested to hear more about: cocktail and catering. Anytime we want to talk food and drink, I'm your girl. And we have some really passionate advocates and icons in the industry on today. And I'm really excited to hear what they have to share with us about what they've seen this year, but like more importantly, what we have to look forward to going forward. So we're going to be talking about cocktail and catering trends. Um, take a second as you're joining and pop into the chat and let us know where you're joining from. We always like to see, we generally get people from all over the world at these events, and so it's always fun to see where people are joining us from. And let's get started with our panel. We're going to kick it off with some introductions. Today we have Natalie from Deja Vu Sweets, and she is a self-taught baker. Is that right?
That is
Self-taught
correct.
baker, which you would never, to look at the confections that she produces, you would never know that that's the case. Maybe self-taught is the way that you're able to be so creative, but tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Oh, wow. How I got started was
Mhm.
back in 2014. The company is named after my first daughter, Deja Vu Sweets. I was in education, a guidance director at the time. And my husband was like, why don't you just start doing desserts? Because I always loved to cook. That was always a passion. My mother actually produced a bunch of catering and she was a chef too. And I just did it and ran with it. Been doing it ever since. I enjoy it. I love it. And we've actually traveled across the world. We've actually delivered and produced things overseas and had clients from nationwide that actually comes to us, pick up and travel to Germany. So we're excited and we're happy to know we've been across the world
Amazing. How long have you been operational?
since 2014.
Wow,
We've
so
been operating.
you've
Yes.
gotten a lot done.
Yes, we've gotten a lot. We've grown a lot and it's been
Amazing.
a fun ride.
I love it. Thank you. Well, welcome to our panel.
Thank you.
And we also have Pauline with us today, who, I mean, when I mention icons in the industry, I'm talking about Pauline from Good Gracious Events, who has 30 plus years. We all know her name. We're all familiar with the company and the wonderful work that she's done. And, I know that you've spoken everywhere. We're just so glad. Sorry, we're so glad that you've joined us today. So, welcome, Pauline. Wayback Machine. Tell us how you got started.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here and lovely to be on the same panel with such youthful people. I started this, like I said, I suppose an icon comes with age. So, it was 35 years ago, and I was a little bit in denial that I've been around this long, and I would sort of say, people might think I'm not doing the best creative work because you get a little stodgy in your ways that you do things. But that was never the case with us. And so I started this business back in 1984. And I was that girl with the Olympics in Los Angeles that actually delivered the lunches in boxes, not unlike what I'm doing at the moment. and and it all started then. But I want to tell you, really, it did start because of that. I'm from England originally, and I started my hospitality work back in England. And when I came to America, which is a whole nother story, it was really the American entrepreneurial spirit that said to me, Pauline, you're so good at catering and food and entertaining. Why don't you start your own company? Because I too was self-taught, Natalie. And I said, really? Well, there's a difference, in, cooking for people and then charging them. They said, you'll just do fine. And I think I was young enough and had enough spirit in myself that I did. I went out and got myself a business card and I started Good Gracious Events. And I do want to tell you a little note that Good Gracious Events came. In England, we have a little, you know, Good Gracious is a little sort of saying when you meet people or think about something. And someone brought the name to me and said, why don't you call your name Good Gracious? And I said, well, I get where it comes from, but I'm not quite sure. but I ended up calling my mother and I went, "Hello, Mum." And she went, "Good gracious, is that you, Pauline?"
That's so
Ah,
sweet.
Born.
I like that.
So I put an exclamation mark on it because I always wanted it to be larger, and I ended up putting events to it. So that's how it all started. So, I have the spirit of all my friends who thought I was worthy to start this company. So that's how it's began.
I love that. And I'm just going to say, I know that you said that icon means that you're old. You just getting older doesn't bestow icon status. You
Exactly.
have to be a luminary and, you know, doing something new and different all the time. And we just love what you produce.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And we also have Will, and Will is here with us from Constellation Culinary. And I know we were right on the verge of working with your group when everything shut down. You were going to provide the catering for Party Slate's New York party back on March 17th. And it was a whole should we, shouldn't we host it situation. And we were so already dreaming about the menu that you guys had come up with. I know your story is a little bit different. So you worked at Viceroy and you were in charge of events, I think in Santa Monica. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me what brought you to New York and your involvement in strictly the catering.
Sure. So that's right. Viceroy Hotel in Santa Monica was my first opportunity to join the industry out of university. I was there for about 6 years, and then Viceroy opened a property on 57th Street in New York City, and so I took the opportunity to join them in helping to open that property, which would have been in the early part of 2014. I had been a fan of Steven Starr's restaurant group from Budokan and Morimoto and Elvez. Visiting Philadelphia, I married into a Philadelphia family, so I was familiar with the Starr restaurant group, and being on 57th Street, got quite friendly with the Starr Catering group, which at the time ran food and beverage at Carnegie Hall, which was just a few doors down from Viceroy. I would attend concerts there. I would meet the bartenders and just became friendly with them, struck up a relationship, and then there became an opportunity there to launch what is the Studio Towers at Carnegie Hall. On the 9th and 10th floor, Carnegie underwent a significant renovation, including a 10,000 square foot garden landscaped roof terrace that overlooks Central Park. So I was
That's a beautiful space.
just deeply enthusiastic about joining that team to help launch, to tell a story of something brand new happening at a cultural icon that has 125 years of history behind it. So I've been with what was once Starr Catering Group and is now Constellation Culinary Group for coming up on 7 years as Director of Catering Sales for the New York region. Our headquarters are still in Philadelphia. And then several years ago, we partnered with Abigail Kirsch Catering, also based here in New York City. So I lead the Abigail Kirsch off-premises catering sales team alongside Constellation.
Got it. So you've got some varied experience. I love all the different backgrounds that people are joining us from. It'll make for a good, rich discussion. Let's dive right in. I mean, let's off the bat talk about this past year. I know, we talked before this event about the challenges and how difficult it has been, and there's no getting around the impact that this pandemic has had on this industry and many people personally, but this industry has been so hard hit. And so I know that it hasn't been easy. I know, Pauline, you were talking about learning to assemble boxes and, just the new skill sets we've all had to develop. Kylie, our events person, has learned how to produce digital events so that Party Slate could offer 30 plus events just during this pandemic time, this shelter at home time. And so my first question is, what have you seen in terms of creativity in this industry to meet the needs as they are constantly changing? Pauline, I'm going to ask you to kick us off with that.
Yeah. So obviously when this came down, everything got cancelled, and it was really a dark moment for us all. And but as all things, we have been around a fair amount of time, and we were actually had the opportunity to really work with the frontline heroes, and it actually saved us, and it really brought us together as a company. And as when this all started, we reached out to the frontline hospitals and people like that, and
Mhm.
we ended up getting contracts actually to produce about 10,000 meals a week for them because of shutdown. And like I said, none of us were getting rich, but we were absolutely, it was fabulous for us all. Everyone was employed, and it really helped us get through this very difficult time. So I am so grateful for that opportunity. And, I think, because of our experience, we're able to accommodate and we're able to do it. And that was a lot of the reason. At the same time, we knew that wasn't going to last forever. We, I always said if I had a store, I always wanted it to be a pie, salad, soup store. I just think, instead of a sandwich, a pie. And I said, so why don't we sort of start that process of maybe doing something like that? So we actually did create a soup, salad, pie with a couple of desserts, and really designed some packaging for it to do an online pickup or a delivery and pickup of that product. It's it took a lot longer to get together than I anticipated, but it's together, and we're just about to launch it with some marketing and things like that. So we put all that in place, which was really very exciting. And of course, I think like any other catering, we've done the family meals to everyone,
Right.
which I do want to say it's been a slight struggle because we don't have the notoriety of what restaurants have. We are caterers, so to put that branding out there. But at the same time, we've reached out to our client base and to anyone and everyone that we know. And I do want to say that they have been really supportive towards what we're doing. And that has really helped us get through this. But as an organization, it's actually brought us together to really think about what we can do outside of, because the events aren't really happening at this time.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting experience, but we're in a sort of good place with all of those elements in place.
I love that idea of launching this thing that you kind of had in the back of your mind for so long, and that now is kind of a time for trying new things. Natalie, what have you found?
Oh, so much. When it first happened, of course, I would have to piggyback with Pauline. My frontliners were our number one hits. And then from there, it was creating smaller, intricate boxes, which we all had fun doing, and making sure they were safe and cold, and making sure our clients were excited, and still understanding that we are taking all precautions involved. We are still making sure we have our gloves, which that was one fail because that decided to disappear for a while. I didn't understand that, but making sure the desserts were more intricate, more small, more personalized. So it felt more work for us per se, because now instead of having groups of 100, now we're creating boxes for like small 10 people, 12 people, maybe 7 people, but we still had our clients support to bring us through this trying times. And a lot of my clients didn't know I just had a baby during this time too. So they were still trying to find, how can we support? How can we make sure you're still in business during this? And I would have to say I love my clients because they are my rock. Without them, and also the support of our community, we wouldn't know where we would be at this time. So that's what we did.
Congratulations. I know
Thank
you said you had your little girl in March.
Yes.
It's a lot happening at once. So
yes.
for
Yes.
making it through. Will, what have you been seeing?
Yeah, no, I'm really pleased to hear a similar message from Natalie and Pauline. We knew we had the culinary bandwidth to be of support, and it took a little bit of time for us to find out how we can put that that resource, that bandwidth, and those commissary kitchens to work. We have commissaries throughout the Northeast. We have commissaries in South Florida. And so we activated our commissary in Philadelphia, in Washington, in Miami Beach, in New York City, in New Jersey, to work with local offices of emergency management to supply meals for the food insecure communities throughout our regions. So we're a little past 8.5 million meals served since the beginning of the pandemic, and that allowed us to keep everybody in action, to keep everybody working. But it's really about, as we talk about the boxes, it's about listening to our clients and finding where the need is. These boxes deliver on a need that they have to stay top of mind to their clients who are potentially, I think we'll probably talk about hybrid events and virtual events, and how do we maintain relevancy. We specifically work in cultural institutions here in New York, right? And an immense challenge for these cultural institutions, these museums, to deliver content to their subscribers, their patrons, in a dynamic way, in a memorable way, and to continue to drive donations to sustain the institutions themselves. So there is a need then to differentiate. Maybe we can use our commissary kitchens and our culinary creativity to help them relate, engage, and keep their members and subscribers on point with what's happening at the museum. So we try to stay entrepreneurial, we try to stay creative, but really what we try to do is stay in touch with our community and make sure that we're able to use the resources we have to be as helpful as we possibly can.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm seeing some themes here of being of service and being helpful, and then also reconnecting with clients, which, this has been a good time in general. I think, Will, you had brought this up in an earlier conversation, that this time has been one of reconnecting with your peers. Have all of you found this time to be of value, to reconnect with each other, to have these conversations?
Oh, yes. That was our support system, because we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know if we were going to shut down. We didn't know, especially with event planners, where they were going to go. So we were there for our support group. We were there to say, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We don't know when we're going to get through this, but we're going to get through this. So now let's use our creativity to figure out, what can we do to get through this? And I have to say, my team, especially those that I do speak to on a regular, even when I had the vent at 3:00 in the morning, like, I don't know what we're going to do, they were there. They were there mentally, physically, because I was still having that one baby on my arm. She is with me all day, every day. And we got through it. And I believe during this time, we are going to get through it. It's going to be hard. It's definitely hard, but we are definitely going to push through.
I do want to see a little silver lining from this.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe the restaurants, the bars, the mixologists, ourselves, there's so much more virtual dinners going on.
Yes.
And it's given us an opportunity to really meet our guests and our clients, and to get to know them better. And they're getting to know our story a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a little bit more intimacy that's going on that you might not have seen, in normal times. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a nice little silver lining that's coming through for our industry. I buy a lot of virtual dinners, and I've been buying cocktail classes, and we've obviously been doing these for our clients as well, who are trying to bring their communities together.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's different for us, and we've had to learn how to do it. But I think at the end of the day, our clients and our industry fellow members are, we're coming together a little bit tighter, and they've got to know a little bit more about each other than we might have known if it was normal times.
I think we're talking about empathy, right? I mean, I think we all hope that one of the outcomes through this chaos and horror of the last 8 months is a greater sense of adopted empathy. Speaking through the lens of New York City, people move 1,000,000 miles an hour, but I have certainly found that people are moving with more care. People are kinder. People are more engaged. There's more eye contact, and there's more just checking in on your neighbors. And I just genuinely hope that that continues on the other side once we do get back to work. The other point I wanted to make is that the connectedness and the communication, in order for us to reopen successfully and get events back to where they were, we all have to buy into it. We all have to commit to providing a safe and responsible environment for people to host events in, because it only takes a couple bad actors to ruin it for everybody, right? And I think part of us coming together and communicating and getting on the same page has a lot to do with speaking one language, buying into a specific set of healthy and safe parameters to deliver a comfortable environment for our clients to feel confident about hosting events and serving food as they once did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With that, we've actually, the COVID testing, we've done many hybrid small events, and we're doing one this Saturday, and it's just 20 people, but all of our staff have had to be tested. All of the guests are being tested even before they enter into the party. I never thought that would be the sign of the, but it's the sign of the times.
Yeah.
But that people still want to celebrate, and we're suffocating everyone because we can't go there. And as event professionals, we have to find some way that we can still do that, because people are wanting to party like 1999.
I mean, for sure, people want to gather.
I've had to give away events because I know they're against the law, and I'm not going to be shut down as a catering company to make this happen. And I just wanted to address that. That does go on.
It does go on. And I think, Will, you're right on in terms of like coming up with what does a safe event look like, and everyone kind of buying in and agreeing on that. Let's sit in that for a moment and talk a little bit more. We pre-COVID tests prior to the event. And, obviously we're seeing everywhere temperature checks and gloves. What are other ways that you guys are working to ensure that events are safe? Can you share some examples, Will?
Well, I think it starts with, one place it can start is making sure that your floor plan, the way you organize the space, is done in an appropriate way, right? So how do I make sure there are enough, if you live in a region where walk-up bars are okay, New York City, that's not the case right now, but in other regions that is okay. So how do I accommodate enough bars so that I can spread guests throughout the room? How do I accommodate seating floor plans to make sure that we can keep 6 feet while people are seated? I mean, that is a big trend in the, I feel like micro events is such an unromantic term. It's like, the more intimate events that we're doing right now. We've done a few weddings of 50 guests, right? And so how do we, you can make sure that people keep 6 feet apart by seating them, right? Rather than having a standing mix and mingle type event. So knowing that, how do we arrange for a optimally comfortable, fully seated experience where we can still offer warm restaurant style service, and that guests still have the opportunity to quote unquote mix and mingle, but maybe it is at a table where they switch tables a couple places throughout the evening. I think a lot of it comes to how we orient the room. Certainly there's ample opportunity by way of food and beverage service. Maybe Natalie or Pauline wants to talk a little bit about food and beverage.
We haven't done many events, so we're not there. But the ones like we put up the barriers, we have the bars with the barriers, we have buffet stations, we now have people serving them. Our charcuterie tables, now a beautiful boxed charcuterie table that they can take and eat individually. Our desserts are a little bit in a jar, so you can pick, grab and go. As we know, the industry has done a lot of grab and go foods, but it's so more important now. And the way we present it and how the look is, we want it to look a little bit more organic and a little bit more lovely than, hey, I'm taking a grab and go, So all those things that Will said we're doing, and we obviously are hopeful that our guests too are being responsible for our staff that are working there also. So like I said, we are taking events that are really being responsible about the rules that we have to follow to make it happen. And so far so good, but there's few and far between, you know.
We did a digital event with Colin Cowie, and he brought up some really good points about that, and in terms of how do you educate guests and prepare guests so that they arrive and keep everyone safe, because you don't want to endanger your teams either. And so it's that education, the setting of expectations around behavior on both sides that needs to happen.
So there is a trend going on in here, and like we're doing this event and everyone's getting tested that morning, and no one that doesn't pass it, they won't be able to be at the parties. So it becomes a safe environment for most people. So there's a little bit more freedom for the guests, but as the servers, we are still masked, gloved, shields, and serving guests as well, and so that they don't serve themselves. And because of the buffets, that we've got a few of them, we're really using a lot of cart service that we can go around. A little bit more butler services coming to the fore, and we're doing that. And in a lot of them, in a few of them, not a lot of them, a few of them, they've actually been doing some really creative disposable product that we're using also for events at this time.
And that's what we're actually doing. A lot of disposable, a lot of grab and go.
And sort of elevating and
Right.
and like I said, when you come into the box environment,
Mhm.
you know, it's all about the signage and the way it looks and how it feels, to sort of elevate the event without feeling you're in a COVID environment.
I just want to jump in there and also say that, you know, if we were having this conversation should we have had this conversation 1 year ago, I think one of the major trends or focuses that we would talk about is sustainability. And the fact that in this world right now, where it is so there's just like, even just, you know, oh man, this is a rabbit hole, but like you want to support the restaurants in your neighborhood, right? Restaurants that are going out of business, you want to support them. And what does that mean? That means ordering takeout. And, you know, we all are swimming in takeout containers at home. And we've lost sight of the focus on sustainability. And I sort of want us to stay conscious of that, stay conscious of our previous commitment and hopefully our future commitment to limiting waste and just being thoughtful with the materials that you're using, because you do have to use more materials in order to deliver a safe event. But I think there is that added level of thought that's really important.
I know, and actually I've been doing all this packaging, as I told you, and actually we've got a, I don't know what we call it, we've got a reduce, recycle, reuse sort of symbol to make us all feel responsible about what we're doing. So everything that we've used has really come into that environment, so that we're doing it that way.
I think something that we're seeing
as you know, people in the food and event industry, that we have to be aware of, and that what we must offer to people as well.
Right. I think something that we're seeing at events that have happened is, you know, certainly a big source of disposable are the masks. And so custom masks, which helps support people in the industry and ties an event together in an elevated way, is one way. Fabric, like beautifully done masks. Natalie, you mentioned earlier about individualized, you know, things shrinking and the amount of work that goes into, I know I've seen like at a few weddings recently, rather than one giant wedding cake, there's a cake, but then there's an individual, really intricate, beautiful cake for every guest that's there, which maybe is 20 or 30 or 40, but the amount of work that goes into that.
Yes, it's more work. It's more work. It's more work, and they are expecting the same beauty that we provide before. So either we're creating micro mini cakes, or we are creating faux cakes and still boxing them in the back, because we do still have brides who still want to have weddings. And even if it's 25-20, they still want to see the beautification. They want to see everything just come to play. We have lost several clients, unfortunately, this year due to it, but then those who are now having the events. They want to see, oh, well, if you're going to create an eagle, make sure that eagle still shows in the little petite box that we are providing our clients. So they still want to see all the beauty. They still want to, oh, wow, it's a lot. It is a lot. And it takes more. I feel like now that we've gone downsized, it takes more work, because prior, when we did large amounts, we can just say, okay, we have one flower, we're creating one. No, they want to see more flowers. They want to see more beautiful pearls. They want to just enjoy the moment still. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of work. It's a lot of work, and we enjoy it.
A lot of work, but I mean, what a thing of beauty to have something made just for you. And I think it's more work all the way around that,
Right.
you guys were talking about individual table service, and
Yes.
even with the buffet, it's a serviced buffet. No one's allowed to just grab a spoon and start serving themselves
Right.
the way
People
they
would-
were a year ago.
We have to literally just create everything in a box. Everything is created in boxes individually for the client. It's different when it comes to Will and Pauline for us, because we're providing confections and cakes. So we are running, literally, I'm running to the location, making sure everything is put, and we're verifying that everything is at distance, and still creating dessert tables, but in a box. And it's a weird setting, but it works. And I'm happy to say that has been one of the things that have saved us during this time too. So yeah.
I think we'd be responsible too. Today we're doing a dinner in a box for a client who's going to do a virtual situation with them. And so we had to make sure our boxes are really quite beautiful.
Exactly.
That's
Ribbon and
exactly
all.
where we've been going from. So to me, there's been a lot of pride. They go, oh, and it's really quite lovely when you have this package delivered and you go, it's like a fabulous swag bag, and you open it. So our client today is going to open. They've got champagne with glasses and some flowers in there. The
And
next
a smile on their face.
china, flatware, blah 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 blah. And then the third one, they've got all their food beautifully labeled, beautifully done. All comes tied up with a bow. So there is a beauty of that, and and it's lovely that we can still present something that people are going to enjoy so fabulously, So I'm grateful for that, and it's been a learning tool for us, because just like you said, okay, we're having salmon, this, that, and is my box the right size?
Exactly.
Right.
And
So
we've
the
been to those situations.
research of what we're having to do has been massive, and it's like learning a whole new business, because it's not cookie cutter, it's so custom.
Yes.
So that's been the challenges, but it is happening. And the corporations too, I'm sure you're doing the same, and I'm not quite sure, Natalie, you might be, because it's cookies, but I've done so many cookie boxes with cookies in, frostings and little toppings that they're going out, that they're virtually doing with their team or their clients to bring them together,
And our corporate clients, and of course, unfortunately, with all that's going on, have downsized. We send out gift boxes yearly to several of our corporate clients, and it's more tedious, because now they're requesting, well, is it going to be safe? Is it COVID safe? That's the favorite word right now. Is it COVID safe? Yes, definitely. Can you show me a sample? Which we always do, but now to create the cookies, now to create brownies, now to make sure, everything's labeled. And we even provide gloves inside the box just to make sure how safe we're going. So it's a fun ride. It's a fun ride.
Yes. So boxing and packaging and finding all of that
has and labels
on our toes. And then it's the availability of everything. So as much as you've got it, you think you can get it, then you can't get it. And but that's really the work that we have been doing, virtual dinners. This company is going to Bora Bora for this, they've chosen, oh my God, what we're just doing 10 of them and delivering them this whole meal that they're interactively going to be doing with each other, cooking. So our chef then had to do the demonstration that will be shown in the virtual dinner with all the instructions and whatever. So that's the sort of work that we have been doing. to keep our corporate clients alive.
Right.
And I want to say, and Will, I'm sure you've done the same because of the status of who our company is, but we reached out to a lot of them and say, what can we do to keep people engaged? What do you want to do for your staff? What do you want to do for your clients? How do you stay relevant? What can we do together? What can I do for you in my world of food and beverage? What can I do to make this happen? And these have been the conversations that we've been having.
Yeah. What have been some of the things I know with like virtual and hybrid events? Obviously, there's the whole level of delivery and the interactivity. And do you have someone that can be on camera that can talk about a meal or teach a meal or, walk people through assembling something? What have some of your experiences been? Have any of you you've worked with corporate? Have you done any gala events? What kinds of things have you been involved in? Will, you want to kick us off?
Actually, all of it. Will, I don't want Dominic. All of those things, in the sense that, yes, last week we were teaching LinkedIn, how to do, and they wanted to bring their children in, etc. So we were doing demonstrations of how to make Shelley the sheep, with grapes and cucumbers. So Joanne, our chef, and we actually tied together with Jenny Cooks, another catering company, and they then showed all of in India, Ireland, and actually New York, and we're demonstrating 3 times. So they were actually up at 11 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and 7 o'clock in the morning, demonstrating because they wanted to bring together that sort of thing. So you can imagine as a catering company, we cater. So to go through the process of building these plates that they could do, for their teamwork is the stuff that we had been doing. We were assembling, gingerbread houses last week to Google people, and so they then, I don't have that technology. They have all the technology of doing it, and we work with their team, and they are doing the demonstration. People are interacting with it through that sort of situation. So it's been interesting. Yeah. And like I said, we sent out 400 boxes of cookies, frostings, and toppings. And then when they get it, that's exactly what happens. They are doing virtual gatherings of people enjoying that situation.
Yep. I want to just jump in and to sort of carry the theme of specialty further, but through an in-person lens. I think one general topic is that we're all going to have to be conscious of as we do get back into an in-person environment / a hybrid environment, is that I think we as an industry are going to have to, we have so steeply for the last several years, but continue to level up in making to differentiating the experience, right? You're really going to need to offer a compelling reason why somebody should attend in person. I think about our clients, I think about our institutions. How do we continue to attract people to come, bear the expense of coming, whether it's flying from across the country or even just, time is money. Time is the most valuable asset we have, right? And so taking the time to travel to get to New York City or just travel uptown on a Tuesday evening to attend an event at New York Historical Society, how do I make sure that experience is as exciting, impactful, engaging, memorable as possible? We're talking about specific examples, like New York Historical Society, one of Constellation's venues, their library last year acquired an amazing variety of historic recipes. So that's sort of like a no-brainer for us, mid-19th century recipes. Right. So how then for their subscribers, their members, how do we maybe create some content around like some of these wild cocktails with these, just outrageous recipes, these baked breads with ingredients that you've never heard of? How do we find how do we modernize the recipe? How do we do a live cooking demonstration? How do we make a specialty cocktail for them so that it ties? We are highlighted as Constellation Culinary Group, their exclusive food and beverage provider. It's the New York Historical Society, and it's your member community. Cultivating engagement through that triangle, I think, is going to be really important. And obviously, we have the they lean on us for the creativity. I've been super inspired by what I've seen happening in the market, specifically through that cultural institution lens has been a lot of fun. Carnegie Hall is another good example, pairing music and food, music and wine, taking a theme and using our culinary bandwidth and creativity to match it. One of those 1 + 1 = 3 kind of things, having everybody level up together.
Yeah. And I think people are ready to do this, to be perfectly honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think in the industry, we're gonna move forward and it's gonna happen. I'm very confident about that. Very confident.
I absolutely agree. So
really confident.
Looking forward into the future, we're talking about all of these changes we've made to make people feel more comfortable joining an event in person, even to feel safe, having a meal from home as part of a group virtually. Which of these adjustments that we've made do you think are going to stick around for quite a while? Are we going to rush back to a traditional buffet? When will we see that? Are we going to continue to serve up individual desserts for, the rest of time? What do you think is going to stick?
I definitely think buffet is going to stick, to be honest, and that's coming.
Buffet is going to be exited.
Yeah, you think so?
No,
I don't think so.
No, I think it's going to be there. We just have to take the precautions, and I think people, once this, like you said, it's going to go on for another year at least. But I think it's all going to come back. I think people like to be served, so whether we find new ways of doing it, the plated meal is going to still be strong. I think the family service on a table might take a little while to come back because of that. But I think, once you have your professionals helping you through a beautiful display of food, I think that will still stay there. I think family style and tables might, take a little longer to come back. And, as us, giving butler style service through, whether it's through carts or whether people go into them or whatever, that will still be there, and I think, maybe I'm just thinking this aloud right now, maybe sort of still doing it virtually and have people present at events could be in tandem sort of thing that might happen as we move forward.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. The hybrid concept is going to become the model for sure.
We have several scheduled.
We all have this what I find to be a really exciting challenge is how do we deliver an incredible food and beverage experience in person and an equally incredible experience in home. Pauline, to your point, like getting mail at home, getting like personal mail is fun, but getting a box with a bottle of champagne and you get to unwrap it, and there's like YouTubers who have 10 million followers unboxing a shoe box,
like a holiday gift.
Our curated food and beverage experience that's branded and has a real story to tell. I think that is certainly here to stay, and that is an evolution that I'm really excited to get behind.
Yeah, so I think it might be, a double whammy. So I think it's a win-win up to a point that we might see as the future.
Pamela, we talked about a little bit earlier communication with guests. I think that's going to continue to be super, super key in not letting there be any gray area, over communicating, full open transparency about what to expect for the evening on both social and corporate and nonprofit, not just 6 p.m. cocktail hour, 7 p.m. dinner, but what does cocktail hour look like? What is the expectation? What can we all sort of know that are the ground rules for everybody to get comfortable? Where is the arrival? And then actually, once you're at the event, wayfinding and communicating to your guests when they're actually in the space, making sure that they're comfortable, they know where to go, and that there's no sort of like floating lack of transparency, I think is going to be something that sticks around with us past the vaccine.
And I also people are becoming more and more aware of food. And I think people, through this have become a little bit more health conscious. They're all, so whether you put your 30 pounds on through pandemic or whether you lose your 30 pounds through pandemic,
I have to agree. I have a couple of my gluten-free and vegan clients, and they're like, so what can you create for me that will make me feel sweet?
The
But
young generation, you're right. They become so much more health conscious.
yes.
As an industry, we have to provide that. And as much as sometimes it's a pain in the neck, we have to be very sensitive to all the dietary restrictions that people are up against,
Yes.
and it's just now a way of life. I remember many years ago, someone wanted vegetarian meal. I'm going, oh my God, vegetarian.
And now you're like, yes.
I know, vegetarian is a piece of cake, So it's like vegans becoming a piece of cake now, and the gluten-free and really from our suppliers, they are providing so much better ingredients to make it not such an alien type of experience. So I am very grateful to those people are allowing us to do that. But as caterers and hospitality people, we have to be very, very sensitive to that we can bring the right product to the table for that. And that's really coming into this next year. Yeah. Sustainable, plant-based foods, where it came from, we have to be very sensitive to all those details. And I think we are as an industry.
The changing palates, that was happening before.
Yeah.
Certainly before COVID. Have you guys noticed any change in people's palates since COVID? Like are people continuing on that path of being more healthy, or are people craving kind of the dishes of their childhood? Are you seeing any change in the palate, or are we continuing?
With desserts? No. Everybody still wants it.
Definitely,
They still want dessert.
They definitely want to be more healthy, but there's and Will, I'm sure you back me up on this, they still want the comfort foods. And I like to think we can provide comfort foods, but just with a really honest, healthy product that we give it to them,
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot about our food and beverage suppliers. I think about the farmers. I think about the people who grow the wine, they grow the grapes. I think about our purveyors and how challenging this time has been for them, with restaurant closures, with our business going away. In the last few years, when we talk about people's palates evolving and people's interest in food evolving, you see so many more farm names dropped on menus and on our menus as well. We talk about where our wine comes from. We talk about where our chickens are raised. And I think that I hope that continues to be a request of our audience. I hope people stay conscious, and I hope people continue to ask those questions. Where do you source your food from? Because I feel we have a responsibility to amplifying the stories of these farmers and purveyors, especially now.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think you're right. That's definitely happening.
Right on the dot.
I totally agree. So we are unfortunately nearing the time where we have to wrap it up. I do have one last trend question for you, but before we get to final thoughts on next year, I want to take a minute and just share your Party Slate profiles and let people know how they can find you, find information, reach out to you, and see more of your beautiful work and get inspired. At Party Slate, we have a saying that the inspired events inspire people. And so I'm just so excited to be able to share your work with all of the people who are watching. I know there are a lot of new faces on this watching us today. And so I just want to introduce them to the beauty that is what you create. And here's some gorgeous individual suites. If you look at Deja Vu's profile, there's 11 events here. You can see kind of a breadth of work that only about half of them are weddings, but we've got, milestone birthdays and dinner parties and baby showers. And I just encourage you to come and take a look. Yes. And you can also see some frequently asked questions. And on all of the profiles, you'll be able to scroll down and see who each group has worked with and identify some of those partners. Let's take a look at Constellation, and you can see some of their amazing, beautifully plated
Beautiful.
food. I
I'm
know,
hungry.
I know. It's not,
It's beautiful.
it's never a good time to look at food pictures
I
unless you're
know.
actually getting ready to eat. And I love this announcement banner here, talk about innovation and how we're all changing that this new at-home event menu program, Will, that you've got going. Do
Shout
you
out.
want to tell a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, one segment of our business is what we refer to as business dining. So at office places throughout the country, and so we took the foundation of that program and tailored it for a more upscale luxury event environment. So just as we talked about, pre-packaged, branded, customized. Look, we built what we thought was a nice core boxed menu program, but what we've quickly realized that everything is custom start to finish, from the packaging to the menu to the branding to the delivery logistics, and we're excited about that. We if anybody rolls with it, our industry rolls with it, and so we're having a lot of fun with that challenge. And yeah, so that's Prepped, our boxed meal delivery program.
I love that. Thank you.
Laia works with you.
Pardon me?
Laia works with you.
Yes.
I love her. Love her.
That's nice.
We go back a long way.
That's so great.
I say hi. She's fabulous. Fabulous.
I will.
Pauline, here we have yours. You're a superstar here with 47 events uploaded. And just to get a breath, I love this Sony PlayStation event. We've shared this a lot on social media, just the idea of your food kind of floating downstream and you pluck it out. It might be a little while before we see it again, but there's so much innovation to be found on this page. So I just encourage everyone to take a look. I know you did our launch party event.
Yes, we did. That's a couple of years ago. That's right. That's right there.
Yeah.
And I want to say, while we're here, marketing and staying relevant is really, we prioritize that and try to stay visual to people as much as we possibly could through this time, and felt as a very business part of what we needed to do to keep ourselves inspired, to keep ourselves innovated, and to share with people out there so that we don't get lost through this process.
I think that's right. One thing that I've heard a lot is that this time, we talked about reconnecting with each other. It's also a really great time, while there may be, tighter marketing budgets, there's also more time to upload those events that you've been meaning to upload, share examples of your work. And so that's what we're seeing on Party Slate, is all these beautiful examples that we haven't seen before in these events that happened pre-COVID that we're now really getting to dive into.
I know you don't do anything that's not live, and I know you don't do stylized shoots, but in preparation for next year, and I get it, trust me, I get it, but we have to be prepared for next year. And I did some stylized shoots because I'm trying to launch some specialty stations that people might want, that would actually allow me to go into hotels or country clubs or have on events that, so that we can at least show people, because we aren't able to show them the live events anymore.
Of course.
So we've actually gone in that direction to do some stylized photographs to hopefully sell a product that we want to launch next year, when it's a little easier to do that.
I mean, I think you're on the right track, and definitely upload stylized shoots to your Party Slate profile. I mean, consumers.
And I'm not lying about it. This is it. Yeah, it is a stylized, because there's actually a dessert station, a cookie station, and a charcuterie. That was a specialty. It's really a cookie cutter sell, as you might say.
I want to see it, Pauline.
I know, me too.
I'll send you the photographs, okay?
I appreciate you.
So we are at the end of our program. So I want to pose one last question, which is, let's end on a high inspirational note. I would love to hear from each of you something, a food or beverage, a cocktail catering trend that you are excited to see in the future. Natalie, you want to kick
Oh,
us off?
yes, I will be more than happy to start this off. Confectionery boxes, we actually curated boxes that are for our clients. So if it comes with macaroons, it comes with casicles, which is like a popsicle, strawberries, it has brownies, whatever our client is requesting, we actually create the box just for them. And we color coordinate for the event. It could be a baby shower, it could be a wedding. Actually, we have several that we're doing for a wedding this weekend. And I'm excited about that. So that's the biggest thing. That will definitely stay forever.
Will, what are you getting excited about?
I think in the last years, we've seen a desire to bring the back of house more into the front of house, right? Getting our chefs onto the event floor and bringing some chef coats in front of the guests. Chef demonstrations have become quite popular. So I think leveraging with the current restrictions, right? At the moment, we're not having guests walk up to a station and help themselves. Knowing that we are going to have chef or server attended stations, having more of that demonstration style approach at stations. We have an incredibly gregarious bunch of chefs who have a lot of fun in the dining room. And I think that guests really enjoy being around chefs, the modern day rock star these days. So having that, that also allows for customizability, customization at the station, which I think is another upside to events, allowing guests to customize what they have on their plate by chefs who are doing it right in front of them.
Yeah. And I have to echo that as well. I think that chef, personality coming to the floor to make that connection. And I think, like during this time, they've actually opened up a bit more because they're doing demonstrations and things like that. So they're learning the process. So yeah, because sometimes, to get them on that floor is like, pulling teeth, but they're open for it. And I think people are excited to learn more about the technique and what they're doing and why they're doing it, and we've been working on specialty, tables for special occasions also. And, and from my little world as well, I just love the world of wine and beers and cocktails, and I'm looking at, we're offering sort of more selection. I think flights of, wine's going to come in at the pairing of food. We sort of are thinking about if you had a tequila, take a local tequila and just taking a food product that might pair well with it and really bring it to people to have that one bite, one drink experience. I think that's something that we'd love to bring to the table next year.
Yeah, I would love to see that personally.
I would love to give everyone a hug next year.
Yeah.
Not going to happen, but
Air hugs. We do a lot of air hugs around here.
it's not quite the same, but
I
it's
know.
going to happen. It's going to happen.
It will happen. I really appreciate all three of you taking time out today to share with us at our main event. And you could not have queued us up better for our next event, which is a chef with personality. Stephanie Izard is going to be doing a keynote address and speaking with us. So if you're interested in food, stick with us. That's our next event. And thank you so much, Natalie, Will, Pauline.
Thank you
for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.